IDP Army. It's your man, Jordan Rains. Back again. We are in the thick of things, guys and gals. It is week one, pretty much over, probably by the time you hear this. I'm recording it as the Ravens are playing the Raiders right now. And we have got some fantasy football stuff to talk about, so let's get to it.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
All right, so we are going to talk about, we're going to kind of recap the week, how week one went, and we're going to talk about some waiver wire pickups. Before we get to that, thank you for being here. Subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome. Give us a thumbs up for this video. If you're listening to the podcast, go give us a 5-star rating or a review. That would be good. It helps the podcast get noticed, helps people find our show. We would appreciate that. IDP Army, hopefully you guys went out there and played Chandler Jones this week. I don't want to bury the lead there. But first, let's go ahead and recap some of the stuff we had going from last week. So if you listen to Friday's show, my super sack lock was Bradley Chubb. He ended up not playing, so missed on that. And then my pick six parlay, unfortunately missed on all those. You know, we knew pick six was going to be tough to hit. We'll try again next week. I really thought Minka would give me something. He didn't. J.C. Horn apparently came pretty close, but didn't from what I saw. Harrison Smith had a sack, which is nice, but that wasn't the parlay. So my pick six parlay did not hit this week. But, you know, we'll live to fight another day. Tune in later on this week, and you will hear next week's pick six and super sack lock. Hopefully they all hit instead of this last week. A few injury things to kind of keep an eye on. We did have Alex Highsmith coming into this week with a groin injury. He ended up playing. He had a fine week. Nothing crazy. I think he had like 7 tackles, but he played, so that's good. He, Melvin Ingram, and TJ Watt all looked great. So, you know, and Cameron Hayward. I mean, it's just running back for the Steelers. You already knew what you're in there. Dre Greenlaw, who had a really nice game yesterday, unfortunately cut short, had to leave. Ended up with 25 points. IDP 1-2-3 scoring, had an interception, took back for a touchdown. But we'll have to monitor that. So in the meantime, you'll have to go pick up somebody who we're going to talk about week 2 waivers here in just a few minutes. We will get to that. But overall, week 1 was fun. You know, let's go ahead and just talk about the big dog himself, the man, the myth, the legend, who went out, had a 5-sack game, such a rare occurrence. That is Chandler Jones. I mean, just look at these numbers here. Solo tackle 6, good number right there. Just in general, that's a good number. That's a good floor. He goes out, puts up 4 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. I mean, he puts up an ungodly 62 points. Now, just for a frame of reference, nobody even put up 60 points last season. I think the highest IDP 1-2-3 scoring game last season was like 58, 59. Joey Bosa had had a good game last year, like something like that. Jeremy Chin got up there like 48 with his 2 touchdown game, but nothing like this. He also forced 2 fumbles. So the defensive player of the year campaign has begun, and he's put the sack record, you know, on notice. He has a real chance to get there this year. So I just wanted to highlight that game. I mean, monster game. Should be looking for a new contract soon. Game so big that afterwards Taylor Lewan tweeted out, "Got my ass kicked today. No way around it. I let the team and the fans down. Thank you, Chan Jones 55, for exposing me. Will only force me to get better." Woo!
Just the truth.
Woo! That's tough, but get out of your system week 1. You know, Taylor Lewan, he's a big dog. We all know who he is. But, man, Chandler Jones put the league on notice. It's going to be fun to watch. Hopefully you weren't like me. I did have him on 2 benches. I played Chase Young, who didn't have a bad game, but he didn't have no 62-pointer. Didn't have no Chandler Jones type of game. I played Myles Garrett. Didn't have no Chandler Jones type of game. 2 forced fumbles too. I mean, like I said, Defensive Player of the Year campaign. Here we come. Sack record on notice officially. Keep an eye on that. We had some other big games. Shaq Thompson for the Carolina Panthers had an awesome game. Josh Hollins, I believe is his name. Josh, double check that. Justin Hollins, 32 points, 8 tackles, 2 sacks. You saw him last night, I'm sure. Andy Dalton, Aaron Donald didn't get to him, but Justin Hollins definitely did a couple times. Isaiah Simmons had a really good game. TJ Watt had a great game. Kind of a lot of the usual suspects at the linebacker or at the defensive line position. So I mean, like I said, even the guys who didn't do great still did pretty good. Still did pretty good. A couple of surprises in there. I would say Von Miller had a 2-sack game, so he's fully back, I would say. I was kind of wanting to see how he would be coming off that injury. Looks good. So he's going to instantly be a guy that you're probably going to get into your rotation. Definitely check your waivers for Von Miller because I know I wasn't talking about him a lot. Maybe a lot of people weren't. Older, but if there's a Broncos guy in your league, he's probably already got his thumb on the pulse of Von Miller. But in the off chance that he is not, you do not have a person like that in your league, go get him. He's probably on your waivers. And here in a few minutes, I am going to talk about the waiver segment. He's not one of the guys on there. There's a couple of guys here that I didn't get on the waiver segment. You'll see that in just a minute. Go check out the Patreon. Go check out our Patreon, IDPArmy.com, or go check out IDPArmy.com. Obviously, number one, you can see our rankings there. But if you want to join the Patreon, you can get on the Discord channel that we have. You can get in on the Ultimate IDP Index, which I added an injury tracker to today. By noon today, all of this week's, all the players in the index, all 175 plus of them, have been indexed in their snap percentage for week 1. A lot of good stuff in there. We've been talking in the chat today just about some of the news, how some of these snaps played out this week, etc. So it's a good community if you're in the IDP world or wanting to get more immersed in the IDP world. So shout out to the Patreons over there. But I even added some people to the index today. We got a handful of full guys that kind of showed up and showed out. So we're always evolving. We're always keeping that thing up to date, adding new players here, there, and everywhere. But yeah. We had that's what we got here. We got a comment in the chat that says Arizona looking much friskier than I thought they would. Yeah, I mean Chandler Jones last year, when he played 3-4 games, he did not have a sack. So to go out this week and get 5, I mean it's almost, you could call it regression, I guess, if you wanted to. I've got another comment here in the chat. It says Jalen Ramsey looks like a DB1. This week he did. I think you can play him probably as a DB2 going forward. I mentioned that on a Hustler show today. If you guys check out his channel earlier today, I was on with him for a little bit. We talked about Jalen Ramsey. But he's still a cornerback. And he's still an outside corner. So he's not in an ideal situation. But he's the type of guy that he's going to make plays on the ball. And if he goes back to shadowing more, playing one-man coverage a little bit more, and he does match up with, ideally the player on that team that's going to get the most targets, he's going to have the most opportunities to make tackles at worst, and at best get picks, and somewhere in between get pass deflections, maybe force fumbles. So it's good. It's I like him, and I'm not saying to love him. I'm not saying go pick him up if you're playing like 2 defensive backs. I mean, if you want to, like I said, if you want a vibes guy on your team, if you want your DB2 to be a vibes guy, just drippy, maybe he only gets you 12, 13, 14 points a week. But, unless he really, really hops up there, I would go with him. But could be a resurgent season for him. It was an interesting game. I kind of was reminiscing during the game. I mean, there was basically as many former St. Louis Rams on the Bears last night as there was on the LA Rams. We had Ogletree and Robert Quinn were both on the Bears last night. And then the only guys who apparently I can think of that are holdovers from St. Louis days are Aaron Donald and Hecker. Somebody did tweet me there was another player. I can't remember who he was, but he's also there. I think he's a lineman of some type, though. It's probably I don't know who he is. Anyway, let's go ahead and get you all to what you really came here for. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying my computer is just being crazy. So I'm going to pull this graphic up And if I freeze and if this thing just blacks out, such is life. So, but hopefully that's not the case. So let's go ahead and talk about some of these players. Several of them have been added to the index. Several of them were just not talked up enough in the offseason by myself. So these are your top waiver wire targets, I think, going into this next week. Got a couple of defensive backs here for you. Bobby McCain, defensive back for the Washington football team. Logan Ryan. Thing about Logan Ryan is, Jabril Peppers and Xavier McKinney all offseason were the guys that were talked up by myself, by a lot of people. And we kind of forgot about Logan Ryan, who just as little as 2 years ago was a top 3 defensive back. I think he was the actual number 1 defensive back, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years ago. Number 1 overall. Goes out this week, plays 95% of snaps. Xavier McKinney plays 95% of snaps. Jabril Peppers plays 45% of snaps. Don't love that for Peppers as the world's leading Peppers apologist. Don't love it, but again, such is life. So we adapt. There's a good chance Logan Ryan's on your waiver wire. I mean, I know that if he's not, you're probably like, oh, that would never happen in my league. Somebody out there that's listening to this is going to go get Logan Ryan on their waiver wire. He's out there, trust me. So go check out him. I think he had 10 tackles. I think Bobby McCain had 10 tackles too, if I'm not mistaken. Just overall big days, 27 points for Logan Ryan. Finished the week as one of the top defensive backs. I believe he was the top defensive back this week. So we have a couple other players. Delshon Phillips, linebacker from the New York Jets. John Franklin Myers from the New York Jets. Myers got a sack. I know some people were talking him up a little bit, especially when Carlos Dunlap went down, and he was kind of always on the burner. Somebody that you could add. I still think it's a little speculative, but if you need some DL depth, let's say you're in you start 4, you might, it's not going to hurt to add him if you have some space at the end of your roster. Let's say you have a Clellan Ferrell who was a healthy scratch tonight, for instance, and you just want to, go pick up John Franklin Myers instead. That's a good replacement for him. Earlier talked about Greenlaw injury, the extent of which I'm not totally sure of. Like I said, there is an injury tracker in the index now, so that's in there. You can track the week and the injury for every player because the index is awesome. But coming in to relieve him was Azeez Al-Shaair, linebacker for the 49ers. We have seen him put up some fantasy points in the past. Not like as a huge stalwart, but he didn't do nothing yesterday. He had a half-ass decent game. Did he have a pick of his own? I have to double check that, but he made some noise in that game. 17 points. Just for a frame of reference, that's only 1 point less than Danielle Hunter had. Danielle Hunter had a sack. Speaking of which, I do want to talk about Danielle Hunter before I get out of here, so don't let me forget that. But going back to Azeez Al-Shaair, hopefully I'm saying that right. He's a pickup candidate. If we're playing Greenlaw, he's the immediate replacement. Go check him out. Now, Kenny Young, next one here. I called for Troy Reeder to be the primary linebacker according to the snaps. Young played 100%. Reeder played under 50%, I think. I'll have to double check in the index. I don't want to look at it right now, but he wasn't the starter, and I don't think he's going to be the primary linebacker. So I just got that wrong. The lucky thing is Kenny Young's probably on your waiver wire. He had a good game. He made some impact plays, put some pass deflection department. He had a tackle for loss, I believe, and I think he went over 10 tackles. So go get him. Nick Bolton had a good game. Not great, but good game. Kind of helped out by the fact that Hitchens got knocked out of that, got injured in that game early, and then Willie Gay is on the short-term IR. So Nick Bolton made the most of his opportunities. He was out. I mean, he made his plays where he could. That's kind of what I took away from watching him play. You haven't seen a Kansas City linebacker look good in a while, and he looked good, I thought, in my humble opinion. So if he's on your waiver wire in your redraft leagues, and because people just have been fading in general the Kansas City linebackers, I think he's worth an ad, more than a speculative ad. I think he's worth an ad, a diligent ad. So shall we say? So let's finish this out. Carlton Davis, a cornerback. I think it's fine. Like I said, somebody asking about Jalen Ramsey earlier. It's fine to play a cornerback in your defensive back 2 spot if you think he's going to be worth it. high-powered offensive defensive backs that are going to shadow. I mean, that's kind of the formula. And Carlton Davis, we saw him get targeted a lot the other night by Dak Prescott and the gang. He had 3 pass deflections. Those are worth a point more than a solo tackle, so those are good plays. The last 2 seasons, he's had 18 and 19 pass deflections. That's basically averaging 1 a game. Had 3 the other night. Did he have an interception as well? I believe he did. So he's going to have chances to make plays on the ball. Brady's going to put pressure. Brady's going to be applying pressure all season to every team they go up against. Everyone's going to have to throw, not on them, with them. Because, again, what's their run game? Ronald Jones? I mean, their run game, like, they have running backs, yeah, but those guys, like, are good running backs in the sense that they're on a great team. So they, like, are pretty much set up to not fail. They're going to throw the fucking ball a lot. So Carlton Davis is going to have plenty more opportunities to put up 20-point games. Zach Bond played a meaningful number of snaps at the linebacker position for the New Orleans Saints. That's been a spot that people have kind of been watching with anxious anticipation for Demario Davis to decline in any way, shape, or form so they can pounce on the next guy. Zach Bond looks like he might be that guy this year. I think what he had five solos, I think he had. Played a reasonable number of snaps. Like I said, looks like he's going to be the linebacker 2 there. And by the end of the year, maybe he supplants Demario Davis. I don't know. We'll see. A lot of crazy things happening in New Orleans. So shout out to my dog, Jameis Winston. You can search my tweets. I've been riding with Winston. All right. Last player. And this is by no means an exhaustive list of every player that's probably on your waiver wire with some sort of IDP relevance. These are just the guys that I at first stab at this, at first glance, that I'm like, okay, these guys are probably out there in the ether potentially, and they need to be rostered. There's a few other guys, like I mentioned earlier, and some veterans, maybe even Chandler Jones is on your waiver wire. Check, because IDP is crazy. But Von Miller, go check for him. Justin Hollins, I did not mention them officially on this list, but I talked about them briefly earlier. Go check your waiver wire. Those guys deserve to be rostered as well. Make sure you follow on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We'll be adding, and obviously this channel, be adding more insight and information on different guys throughout the week. I tweet a lot. If anyone that follows me on Twitter knows that. It's just the easiest way to communicate directly with your audience. So you guys can at me over there as much as you like. But last player here, Cole Holcomb. Played 100% of snaps. Jamin Davis, I hope that's not too presumptuous. Ooh, Yannick Ngakoue with the sack. Ooh, love to see it. 0 DL target. Got him in the 33rd round the other day of the draft. Anyway, but I digress. Cole Holcomb, 100% of snaps. Jamin Davis only played like 60% of snaps, I believe, from what I was saying today. He's still a rookie, so we knew that this was in the range of outcomes. Doesn't mean he wasn't productive. He still put up a few points. Doesn't mean he can't be productive not playing all the snaps, but it's not ideal. It's not what we wanted. We wanted something that looked closer to Micah Parsons' debut, where it looked like he was the guy. We didn't get that. We got Cole Holcomb instead. So if Cole Holcomb's on your waiver wire, don't let him stay there, because a savvier IDP manager is probably on that, because he's been a kind of like a fun hipster indie IDP pick for a couple of years now. He's got a cool mullet. He's a cool guy. I mean, I'm a Cole Holcomb fan too. That's why I'm telling you, go pick his ass up. So, got a few comments over here in chat. Chandler Jones worth picking up, my guy. Come on, don't do me like that. So, IDP Army, this has been a short one, but I wanted to get you guys kind of caught up. It's Monday here for me. You're probably seeing this on Tuesday. It means your waivers are going to run. So, like I said, follow on YouTube or on Twitter. You can hit us in the YouTube comments as well. My rankings will go up soon. I'll pin the link for that. Or you can just go to idparmy.com, click the rankings tab, and you can check those out. Those should be updated to Wednesday. Tomorrow I'll probably do my first stab at them, but you probably don't want anything to do with them until Wednesday. Get them a little bit more buttoned up. And then we're on to week 2, y'all. So hopefully you are getting those dubs tonight, right now, IRL, because we are in it. We got a whole season ahead of us. We got a lot of good things coming to IDP Army. want to shout out to the Patreons. Again, as always, they are, the support of the Patreon is going to help us scale up next year. It helps the channel. So you guys can go check out the Patreon. We would appreciate that. We're always looking for, the community is growing. We're happy to help you guys out in any way we can over there. Go show the TikTok some love because we're trying to put out some stuff over there as well. And let us know what you guys are thinking for your waivers, for your leagues. Who did we miss? Who caught your eye that maybe didn't blow up the box score, but you are putting on your watch list? Let us know in the comments. We would definitely love your input. So, all right, like I said, throw us a subscription, throw us a like, and we will see you later on this week with a lot more fantasy football goodness. So until then, IDP Army, I'm out.
Let the rain hit the sand. Build a house on a rock, got a plan. Gotta get stocks, keep them bands. Hear the clock tick, blades on the fan. Used to be mundane on a Monday. Now you have fun day on a Sunday. Cause you switching it up and you living it up. You ain't getting enough.